Corporate Democrats are so done. The centrist liberals who are more focused on appealing to right-wing psychopaths and finding middle ground with Nazis than they are with actually working with their own party are now facing this wave of progressive politics in this country, and they are not ready for it. I'm talking about Graham Platner, oyster farmer and Democratic socialist who is now slated to win the 2026 primary for Senate after his main opponent, corporate-backed Janet Mills, handpicked by Chuck Schumer himself, has dropped out of the race. This is huge news for progressives all across the country and just proves that progressive and socialist principles work, not just in New York City, not just in Boston or Minnesota, but in a politically diverse state like Maine and all across the country. So first things first, let's take a quick look at Janet Mills' letter announcing her departure from the race. She talks about how it's been the honor of her life to serve as the governor, and she joined the race because she thought people were not getting a fair shake, and she hates the president, and yada, 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 we all know. She says that she is suspending her campaign due to funds running low, which, I don't know if I buy that, but who knows? This could just be an easy out for her to leave the race on a, beautiful exit ramp so she doesn't have to embarrass herself in the actual primary against Graham Platner, who, by all metrics, is doing better than her. He is much more popular than her, outpolling her by as high as 38 percentage points, having raised over $8 million. The guy has motion. I mean, the official Democrats account is now throwing their support behind Graham Platner. The tide shift that's happening right now is not something to be ignored. But going back to Mills' statement real quick, because I think this is interesting, some people online were quick to point out that Mills did not endorse Graham Platner or even mention him in her departing letter, and she didn't ask to, build this coalition to defeat the Republican Susan Collins or anything like that. It's a little interesting. Yet on the other side of that coin, Graham Platner expressed gratitude towards Mills and drove the focus right back to beating Susan Collins in November. Platner writes in his official statement saying, "Janet Mills has dedicated her career to this beautiful state. We are all eternally grateful for her service to Maine as governor, attorney general, district attorney, and in the legislature." He then continues saying, "We will defeat Susan Collins, we will go to Washington, and we will start tearing down the system that for far too long has forgotten and written off the people who make Maine and this country what it is." That is strong messaging. That is what we need right there. That is what we need in Washington. Strong fighters fighting for the working class and ordinary Americans, not corporations, tech giants, Israel, and oil lobbyists. And the polling reflects that. Now, prediction markets are what they are, but a bunch of people are putting their money behind Graham Platner winning come November, and just general polling also shows that he's got a 7-point lead right now on Susan Collins, his Republican opponent. This just proves that people all across the country are in support of progressive candidates with left-leaning principles like Medicare for all, fast and free public transportation, right? Cheaper housing initiatives, better food assistance programs, all of it. And of course, a politician that is not bought or sold by Israel. Having received $0 from pro-Israel super PACs, Graham Platner is not afraid to speak his mind on the U.S. relationship with Israel. Take a look.
How would you describe the U.S. relationship with Israel?
I mean, at this point, I would just say shameful. This is what is happening in Gaza it's the moral question of our time. And we failed it miserably. We continue to fail. There's a genocide that has been committed in Gaza, and we continue to not only not stand up against it, but allow it to happen, run political cover for it, run diplomatic cover for it.
Not to mention that Platner has received $0 from the fossil fuel lobby, unlike his opponent, Susan Collins, who has received over $250,000 from oil lobbyists. Wonder where her interests lie. And we should not downplay this moment, okay? This is a Democratic socialist oyster farmer from the purple state of Maine statistically probably going to be a senator, right? One of the most left-leaning senators in all of Congress, next to practically Bernie Sanders, who himself just today congratulated Platner on his nomination, saying, "Congrats to Graham Platner, the Democratic nominee for U.S. Senate in Maine. He is surging by taking on the billionaire class and fighting for working families. Americans are tired of status quo politics. They want real change, and that's what Graham will deliver." Graham Platner then responded to this message saying, "Couldn't have done it without you," really showing that, yeah, the Progressive Party and this left-leaning movement in this country does owe it to Bernie Sanders in this moment. And I think that is a really powerful message and just shows where Graham Platner's, allegiances lie when it comes to his political ambitions and where he will be in Congress. Fox News' favorite primetime punching bag, Hassan Piker, also weighed in on this monumental occasion, emphasizing the idea that these kind of policies work anywhere, even in small rural towns in Maine.
He has this incredible capability, walking like a chud and thinking like a woke, where he's capable of filling up rooms and arenas in towns where there's just more people attending his speeches than there are people in the fucking town.
And Piker is not the only one saying this. Zoran Mamdani, our favorite mayor out in New York, had this to say the last time he was asked if his policies could work on a national level.
There were a lot of questions about whether Democrats across the country could have similar success. Do you think it's possible a democratic socialist platform can translate into something that's electorally viable in a statewide election or a national election, given that, according to Gallup, many older and rural voters still have issues with the label socialist?
I'll be honest with you. Before I was the mayor, I was an assembly member of Astoria in Long Island City. At that time, I was told that you could only be a democratic socialist in Northwest Queens. Then I became the mayor. Now the next question is the state. Then the next question will be the country. I think that this is a politics that can flourish anywhere because, frankly, there is only one majority in this country. That's the working class.
Yeah, exactly. Now what will corporate Democrats and centrist liberals or even Republicans, what will they say now? Right? Oh, democratic socialism, it can work in New York City and also in rural Maine. Graham Platner destroys their argument, right? They can't just say that, oh, it's woke, communist, socialist New York City. That's the only place that these policies can work. No, it's done. It's fucked. It's over, right? Because if the same policies work in New York City that they work in rural Maine, right, then the argument's gone. Right? It's done. They are the polar opposites from each other. There's always been this constant argument from Hakeem Jeffries and the centrist liberals and Chuck Schumer's that, that they want to keep their status quo and their power and the centrist part of the party. They say that, we need to have candidates run based on their population and their politics. And I say that's bullshit. All right, I say that's complete bullshit. Look at Texas. James Tallarico is running an extremely progressive platform in Texas, and it's looking like he's doing a great job. He beat out Jasmine Crockett for the primary Senate seat. He's outpolling both of his Republican opponents, right? Like, it just shows that this is BS. Graham Platner is outpacing Collins and just forced Mills, a corporate-backed, Schumer hand-picked Democrat, out of the race completely, right? She was the governor of the state, and this oyster farmer comes in and says, no, I'm going to deliver policies that people want, and she has to fuck off, and she did. And those aren't the only two cases, obviously, right? We have Zoran, right? He beat generational corporate-backed Cuomo, right? We have AOC, Bernie Sanders, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. All of these candidates are often considered the most popular politicians in the country, and if you don't even agree with them personally, their policies are the most popular in the country. Medicare for all, fast and free, universal childcare, free college, right? Free school lunches for kids, right? Like, basic ideas in most of the developed world are like considered progressive here, but they're popular, right? The argument has always been to shift the narrative towards centrism and to work with the middle ground. But the middle ground between a Nazi and a socialist is like, you're still working with Nazis? What are you doing, right? Like, no, that's not how this works anymore, okay? We're not going to do the deals with this insane Republican Party, right? This fascist neo-Nazi party, right? There is no bargaining with that. Progressive Democrats with socialist principles are the future of the Democratic Party, bar none. And if the leadership cannot see that, they will be swallowed whole and left in the dirt, right? Because this strong left flank momentum and rising tide is the only way to properly combat fascism right now. That is rising on the right. I know that I want strong fighters. I know that I want people who are going to fight for me, not for oil lobbyists, not for Israel, not for, the invested interest of tech billionaires and CEOs, right? I don't want that. No more strongly worded letters. No more going on the House floor for 18 hours to have nothing happen out of it. I actually want people who are going to use every single mechanism that they have to absolutely ruin the Republican Party. And this fight continues, right? And it will continue for God knows how long. So let's win this fight together come November. But I think that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end. I really appreciate it. If you like what you saw in this video, be sure to leave a like down below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out a lot here. And also, be sure to leave a comment. I would love to hear your thoughts about all of this and more. So do all that good stuff and have a great day. I'm Iago Lashua. Goodbye.